Thank you, Isabel. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Todd and Treasurer Ma, for inviting me to be part of this conversation, which I know is always relevant and always important, especially as we are looking at the challenges of today, but also the opportunities in the future. So I'm going to go over a pretty dense amount of information, but obviously we have a lot of other partners with us, and so they'll be going over some of the programs that are outside of our vein and more in their lane. So if you could go to the next slide, please. So that's my contact information, and we can go ahead and skip that one. So I run 3 different units within GoBiz: International Affairs and Trade, CalBIS, which is Business Investment Services, and then also the Office of Permit Assistance. If you go to the next one. So International Affairs and Trade, obviously the one thing that would be the most prescient for those members of the small business community on the phone here is our export development and promotion. And that's facilitated through a program called STEP, which I'll get into just next. The other thing that we do is we try and attract inbound delegations and inbound attraction for job creation opportunities by those companies overseas who are seeking to make California their next footprint. Can you go to the next slide? So as I previously mentioned, the State Trade and Expansion Program, or STEP, is a program that is specifically geared towards assistance in small businesses for providing export assistance, business matchmaking, which is we'll bring together, and we've done this in a series of events recently with Mexico, Colombia, and Chile, where we partner with small business owners who are seeking to have relevant conversations with decision makers on the other side. So recent trips have involved the aviation and aerospace and defense industries, and we're continuing to look at opportunities that will service our small business community as much as possible. The way that this generally functions is we're able to provide either reimbursements or programs for small businesses who are seeking the opportunity to expand their operations by providing exports. So there's participation in training, there's some marketing assistance, whether it be website development or translation, support for small businesses who participate in foreign trade missions. So if you're going to another country and you've incurred some expenses, obviously it's difficult now, but as we look at the virtual events that are happening, but also the possibility of future events down the road, this is some service that you may want to become a part of. More information is obviously available on our website. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, the other units that I run are, one is the California Business Investment Services. And so this is really a concierge style service for tailored site selection. So if there's an opportunity for expansion of, say, your facilities, or the need to look into different incentives that are available, and a lot of them are authored and used by companies of all sizes. But I would also like to say that those incentives are going to be gone over in much greater detail by some of by the rest of the participants on this panel today. So the other thing that we do is, in the Office of Permit Assistance, is to help for identification and mediation, as well as provide a permitting tool called CalGold. And the reason behind that is that we know that there's a myriad of different permits and regulations that are necessary when you're operating, and we're just here to help try and figure out what are the things that you need, and then how we can help facilitate those things. Next. Another component of our office is the Local Economic Development Liaison Services, which was enacted by SB 635. It covers both opportunity zones and promise zones, and I know a lot of conversations have been engaged around the Opportunity Zone program, which is a federal program. You can find more information about California's involvement with that tool in particular at opzones.ca.gov. And also, if you have any inquiries or questions about opportunity zones, promise zones, or the like, you can definitely submit a ticket through our website, and those get answered usually within 24 hours. I know that because this is a federal program, there's a lot of questions around what the state actually does to engender it. But as you know, previously on page 94, the previous budget that was submitted by Governor Newsom, he was talking about layering tools such as EIFDs, which are Enhanced Infrastructure Financing Districts, which is basically a tax increment financing tool, which allows for communities to use the projected property tax to actually do some embedded investment into the areas that are defined under the EIFD. There's obviously a a myriad of different options there, and we'd be happy to work with anybody and trying to get the ball rolling on something like that in your area. Next, please. So after this segment, there would be a number of tax credits and exemptions, which are all generally housed in different agencies. But as we stated before, we're the liaison between businesses and incentives and also for site selection. So I'll be going over some of the ones that are not covered by some of the other panelists in here, and we can go to the next slide. So the one that is within GoBiz completely is the California Competes tax credit. And so this tax credit program is a credit against income tax due to the Franchise Tax Board. It's based on the California income tax line, and it is non-refundable. It has a 6-year carry forward, and there are multiple application periods during the year. Typical funding available on a calendar or on a fiscal year is $180 million, plus any of the clawbacks from those companies who've either decided not to forego the credit or who have not been able to fulfill their achievement. The idea around this is definitely based on job creation and investment. And so there's both a qualitative and a quantitative methodology behind the way that this is enacted and how it is carried forward. But generally speaking, those jobs that would be created elsewhere are eligible for this type of credit. We'd be happy to connect you with our CalCompetes tax credit team. And as you see on the link below, that's a place to go for more information. You can look at previous awards, you can look at when the hearing or the meetings are, and also any other information that you might have or need. The next window is in January, starting on January 4th, and there's a total of $80 million in credit available. This is not something that we suggest you do by yourself or in a vacuum. Please feel free to reach out to us to be connected to the CalCompetes team, and they'll help you with your application throughout the process. It is a fairly arduous process, but at the same time, you're talking about a large availability of tax credits. Next, please. The next one is the new employment credit. So this is related to new hires that are in a qualified designation. And so some of the people who would qualify would be those who are unemployed for a longer period of time, so 6 months or longer, those who are veterans and have recently separated from the U.S. Armed Forces, any recipient of the Earned Income Tax Credit, and that has expanded as the roles of the Earned Income Tax Credit in California has also expanded. Anybody who is an ex-offender convicted of felony, and then current CalWorks or general assistance recipients, which we know that based on the pandemic, there has been an increase in that area as well. For you to be eligible for this, they must also have qualified wages, which means that they must exceed 150% of the state's minimum wage, and that will be rolling forward as the minimum wage increases go into effect as well. The third qualifier is being within a designated geographical area, and the link that is below there is also able to show you which areas are able to be included. And so you're talking about the former designations of enterprise zones or Lambras or things that are areas that have high unemployment and high poverty. And so this is really supposed to enact that social change that we're looking for in terms of trying to build out and build a more inclusive economy. Next, please. This next award is similar to one that you're going to hear later on in the discussion, but this is a partial sales and use tax exemption. And it's related to specific classifications of products in specific industries. So there's general manufacturing and R&D, which is, this exemption is for the state portion of the sales tax and the procurement of products that allow you to do business. Another group that also receives this type of exemption is in the agriculture equipment. And then a third, which also might be prescient, which is not listed on here, is in relation to timber. So we can provide you guys some more information on the timber award as well. But the way it works is you are claiming this credit at the time of purchasing, and it's administered by a CDTFA. And what they'll be able to do is basically reimburse for the amount that the claimant has in the sales and use tax exemption. And so it actually is something where you can use up to $200 million in purchases towards it. So in some sense, if you go that far down, it can be sizable in terms of the exemption that you would be able to achieve. Next, please. Next is our R&D corporate income tax credit, which is very much so used by most organizations, and I encourage you guys to do it because it's actually very simple. It's just a portion of your tax return. And so it's anybody who is engaged in qualified, what is quote unquote called qualified research activities, would then be able to claim that directly on their tax returns. So the maximum credit award is also $200 million. It is in two different buckets. One is by those who are doing it in-house and those who are utilizing third-party organizations for some of the R&D research and development. So it can include both basic and applied, original investigation, origination, or advancement in scientific or engineering knowledge, as well as improving a function of it. So process improvement would be something that could be qualified as well. Definitely encourage you guys all to understand and get to know this program in particular, as the benefits can be quite substantial. And obviously, we're always iterating to improve, and this is another area where I think if you are in the market for improvement, then you should be justifiably using this income tax credit. Next. So this is a resource for all businesses, both large and small, but what it has is a bunch of different tools that you could use. It was speaking earlier about the CalGO tool, but also about quick start guides or different information that could be necessary as you're looking to navigate the process of either opening or expanding your business. Next. So with that, I'd like to thank you for the time here, and obviously our help center was referred to earlier, but definitely let us know if there's anything you need assistance on. We are standing ready to assist.